But this time around on the early line, it's Charlie Hulme joining us here on this Wednesday, live from the 10th tee inside the T Mobile Club Magenta, the presenting sponsor this week for the Smiley Show, of which Charlie is a co-host and a producer, of course, alongside his guy, our guy, Smiley Kaufman. All live round recaps from this week's 2024 PGA Championship at T Mobile's Club Magenta. And Charlie, you're looking good bright and early on this Wednesday morning.
Thanks. Yeah, it's great to be here with both of you all, Ben and Donnie. We were lamenting this in the break. There was some tee shots here on the 10th, John Rahm among others, and I was really excited to get my Smiley Kaufman golf announcer voice on and just go really low. And okay, here's the balls in the air. But we're here now. Maybe we'll get the chance to call a few more shots. It is looking great out here. We thought there was going to be rain. Weather's fantastic, so I'm fired up for a big major week here at Valhalla.
Charlie, you are truly on site. Listen, we've got about 8-9 more minutes left in this segment. Hopefully we have some golfers in their practice round that we can get that on-course reporting voice live here on the early line. So let's look at where things stand, Charlie, from the odds perspective leading into this second major championship. And it should be no surprise to see Scottie Scheffler on top of this odds board and more than likely on top of the leaderboard in these next few days in Louisville. 4-1 price on Scottie. Let's start there. How does anybody get in front of Scottie Scheffler this week with his recent form entering this second major championship?
So this is such an interesting one because I could not possibly be more excited for the way this tournament is setting up with the top of that odds board there. You have two guys, you have the number one and the number two players in the world in Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy, who have both won in their last two starts. And Scottie's price was actually a little bit shorter heading into the week. He was around plus 350, but he's had that layoff, of course, for the last 3 weeks for the birth of his son. And so this is the first tournament back, and I guess maybe odds makers are a little unsure as to what sort of form he's going to be in. I mean, I think the interesting thing about the course setup this week is that in contrary to the Masters, where there was a ton of wind and the conditions were tough, and that maybe kind of forced some mistakes and ruled guys out, I think the conditions here are going to be very good for scoring, and I think that brings more players into play. So whereas Scottie might have a better chance to separate himself from the rest of the field at a tougher venue, I'm not saying Valhalla isn't tough. I just think with the rain, it's going to be a soft course. Anyone who hits the ball a long way and can have like top tier iron play should have a good chance out here. There's not a ton of undulation in the greens, so that's why I'd say I still like Scottie. I think it's tough to not bet on him. But I think maybe with a lack of value there and other guys that are in play, I'd maybe look to put some different sort of wagers in play this week rather than like an outright on Scottie or maybe even anyone else.
If we do take a look at Scottie Scheffler, and rightfully so, I mean, just in a major tournament, a major favorite here. But obviously, as we know, golfers, very strict usually on their game plans, how they work out, how they get to the golf course, plenty of time to get ready. Now, we saw him take a couple weeks off. He's back in a major tournament. Do we expect things right out of the gate, or is this one thing that you approach and say, let's see how Scottie does in round number one, and then see if we have those advantages on Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think the thing that Scottie is maybe the best ball striker we've seen since prime Tiger Woods, right? So I think the question mark, again, is going to go back to the putter. That's a feel thing, right? And that's the thing that was plaguing Scottie prior to his switch to the spider putter that he won everything with, in the month and a half until he took the break for the birth of his son. So I'd say that, if the putter, if it looks like there's a little rust on it round one, maybe cool off on his prospects, but if he comes out of the gate and he's making everything he looks at like he has been, he's gonna be hard to beat.
So, Charlie, we'll get to Rory McIlroy in just a moment and the numerous headlines and storylines that follow Rory this week to Valhalla. But when you see two guys at plus 750 or shorter and everybody else at a 14-1 price, nearly double the two front runners, it does provide those value that you might not even have necessarily on long shots, but just some names to monitor throughout this week. So you mentioned it might be a little bit more difficult for the likes of Scottie Scheffler or Rory McIlroy to pull away this week at Valhalla. Who are some names that you are keying in on for the 2024 PGA Championship?
I mean, I'm looking at the graphic you just displayed with Brooks Koepka at 16-1, a guy who's won 3 of these things, and it could not set up any better for Brooks because he loves having a chip on his shoulder. He loves feeling like the underdog. He's the defending champion here. He should be the prohibitive favorite, but we're coming in the week and all we're talking about is Scottie and Rory. I feel like Brooks, that's got to be a ton of motivation to come out here and play well. My pick, my one and done pick this week, I came on this show and I told you after the Masters that I love Ludvig. He withdrew from last week's Wells Fargo with the knee injury. I still think his game is so perfect for this venue. I just wonder, the extent of that injury. And I think he's around 20-1 right now. So I'm looking at Brooks and Ludvig, and I love those two plays.
Getting momentum heading into a major championship. Sometimes we don't see all that often because typically some of those tournaments pre-major, guys are off the course getting ready and not playing in those lower level events. Well, the PGA Tour says, you know what? Let's ramp up some signature events. You have that momentum with Rory McIlroy. And the one thing that amazes me is how talented a golfer he is, but hasn't won a major championship since Valhalla in 2014. A decade has passed. Is it the week that you can look for Rory and say, now is the time he's going to seize it? Because being comfortable on a golf course, knowing you've won a championship here already on this course, has to go a long way, Charlie.
You got to love Rory this week. And in fact, there have been a ton of course comparisons made between Valhalla and Quail Hollow where he just won. I mean, golfers so often are doing their best to pull on a memory bank of, good shots and good feelings. And he doesn't have to, think too far back. Just go back to last week when he lapped the field. The interesting thing, I think, for Rory this week is going to be there are obviously reports yesterday about him filing for divorce on TMZ. I'm not here to talk about the guy's personal life, but I do know that often pro players will talk about some of the best golf I play is in times of the greatest turmoil off the course, because it's kind of like you're just focusing, you're locking in, you're working on your craft. And so I wonder if, in a way, that's what's helped Rory focus and play good golf right now. And so all those things considered, it's like, man, it kind of feels like the right time for him to break the major slump here at a place he's already won and has good vibes around.
It has been a decade. That's one of the many storylines for Rory McIlroy entering this week of the 2024 PGA Championship. His last major title, as that graphic displayed, here at Valhalla in 2014. So as we go elsewhere, of course, one of the storylines anytime he is in a field, Charlie, Eldrick, Tiger Woods. It's not going to be easy at a hilly golf course in the hills of Louisville, Kentucky. What is your expectation for Tiger Woods this week at the PGA Championship?
Smiley and I talked about this last night in our preview show, and the question posed was, does he make the cut? I think he does make the cut. I think we saw enough from him at Augusta through 2 rounds to think that it's not an issue of the quality of his game. The guy is, still one of the best ball strikers on the planet and probably will be for the rest of his life. It's just can you go through the physical grind on a 4-day stretch? So I think you see him make the cut, and I think the scoring starts to tail off in round 3 and round 4. And I really think this is going to be a big inflection point for Tiger this week of just taking stock of what it takes to gear up for a major and how many more times this can be done. I will never doubt him, but I think this is going to be, after the Masters especially, it's going to be a big barometer on how many more of these things he does in this sort of way.
Yeah, certainly so. We know he is comfortable at Augusta. It's the one major venue that does not change on an annual basis. But how about getting ramped up for the PGA Championship? I am a simple man, however. If you give me a plus money price on Tiger Woods to make a cut at a major, I will bet that number. Charlie, any golfers there in the final 20 seconds to display that on-course reporting voice?
I just saw Minwoo Lee walk by. He's wearing a nice pair of Lululemon shorts. I need to get a pair of those and no tee shots to report on. That's all I got for you boys from Valhalla.
Listen, Smiley better be scared. That was pretty good, Charlie Hulme. We appreciate the time. More on the early line next.